Today we're going to move on and start talking about computing with multi-digit numbers. So first thing we need to know is our place values. As you can see here, we have our place value chart. If you start at your decimal and go to the left, those are your whole numbers. So you start with your units, your tens, your hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on. All of those end with S. Those are your whole numbers. If you look from the right of the decimal, those give you your decimal places. So you have tenths, hundredths, thousands, and 10,000s. All of these end with THS. So that is what shows you that those are decimals or parts of a number, not whole numbers. So we are going to look at the number 123,456,789. And I want you to think of what are each of these numbers going to end with? Are they whole numbers, so they'll end with S, or are they going to be decimal numbers that would end with TH? So if we look at 5, what place would that be? Go through, write these in your notes. So here we go. All of these are whole numbers. The decimal point would be at the end of this number, so they all would end with S. So if we look, 5 would be in your 10,000s place, 2 is your 10 millions place, 9 is in your ones place, 7 is in your hundreds place, and 1 is in your 100 millions place. Now let's do the same thing with the number 1,234 10,000s. So what would all of these end with since it's behind the decimal? Take a couple minutes and then go through and write the place values in your notes. All of these would end with TH or THS because they are all behind the decimal point. So A, 1 is in the tenths place, B, 4 is in the 10,000ths place, C is 2, the hundredths place, and D, 3 is in the thousandths place. So next thing we're going to go to, now that we know or are more familiar with our place values, is how to add and subtract decimals. The first thing that we always need to do, always need to line up our decimals. If you don't line up your decimals, you're not going to get the correct answer. So always line up the decimals when you're writing out your problem. The second step is to annex zeros. If you look at the problem to the right, we have 98 and 3/10 minus 45 and 67/100. Well, if we line up our decimals, there's nothing above our 7. So we have to annex or add a 0 to that spot to hold that spot so that we can work it out. The next step is then to add or subtract. So we look at our sign and we start at the right and work our way to the left. So we start with our smallest place value and then work our way across. Once we get our answer, you bring your decimal straight down so that the decimal is basically forming a line. So let's look at our first example. We have the women's 100-meter butterfly. We have 3 swimmers, and then we have their times. It wants to know, it took Christine Magnuson 37 hundredths of a second longer to finish than Elizabeth Trickett. What was Magnuson's time in seconds? So we'd have to figure out what type of a problem we're doing. So in this case, since we're saying that it took her 3,700 seconds longer, we would add that to Elizabeth Trickett's time. So we would take 56 and 73 hundredths plus, lining up our decimals, 37 hundredths. Then we would add 3 plus 7 gives us 10, carry the 1. 3 plus 7 gives us 10, plus the 1 is 11, so carry our 1. 6 plus 1 is 7, and 5 plus nothing is 5. And then we bring our decimals straight down, so our answer would be 57 and 10 hundredths. So here's another question using the same chart. At the meet, a swimmer swam the women's 100-meter butterfly in 72 and 34 hundredths seconds. how many seconds faster did Gabriela Silva swim her race? So if we look at Gabriela Silva's time, it's 58 and 10 hundredths. So if we wanted to know how much faster that time was than the 72 and 34 hundredths, we would need to subtract those. So the first thing that we would do is write our problem, making sure that our decimals are lined up. And then we could subtract, starting from the right and working our way left. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. Can't do 2 minus 8, so we have to borrow. The 7 becomes a 6, and the 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 now is 4, and 6 minus 5 is 1. And then I bring my decimal straight down. So the answer is 14 and 24 hundredths seconds faster. Now, let's do a couple of these together for practice. So if we start with A, 4 and 9 tenths plus 3 and 0 tenths, the first thing we do is line up our decimals. So 4 and 9 tenths and 3 and 0 tenths. And then we're adding. So we'd work 9 plus 0 is 9, 4 plus 3 is 7, and then you bring your decimal point straight down. So our answer is 7 and 9 tenths. Okay, let's go ahead and work out B. We have 796 thousandths plus 13. Now, this is a whole number, so our decimal point is actually located here. So when we line up our decimals, we need to make sure that we line it up like this. Now, what do I have to do for these blank spaces under the 7, 9, and 6? We need to annex zeros or add in those zeros so that we can work our problem out. So now, 6 plus 0 is 6, 9 plus 0 is 9, 7 plus 0 is 7, 3 plus 0 is 3, 1 plus nothing is 1. So we get 13 and 796 thousandths because I brought my decimals straight down. Now, what I want you to do is to work out the next 4 problems for your exit ticket, and you will put these in the Google form that I shared with you.